Because I was sitting in the back and I was watching everybody's face, like very serious. And of course, we're discussing serious things, but one thing that every active volunteer says is have fun during the process, okay? So, and we like, I go, oh, wow, watching us like that all the time. Have some fun and digest the information, and afterwards we'll have a great party, and then we'll continue our activism, all right? Okay, so Frankie said that I should introduce myself, so I will. My name is Gilbert. I've been active with the Zeitgeist movement since, well, day one, I think. I joined my local chapter. Was not such a good adventure, so I joined the global side and got active there. I, well, I saw that there was not so much coordination going on in the movement, so I thought, well, maybe I should be the one starting it. So I got involved with the global chapters, and here we are today, like 7 years of non-stop coordination. We've been doing a lot of work, and lots of things have happened, as I will talk about in my talk.
There's a guy that is Peter Joseph's henchman called and he's kind of like the Yagi, if you remember Aladdin, that parrot in there. This is another Gilbert Godfrey reference, but he's kind of like that little parrot that whispers in Peter Joseph's ear pretty much. And what had happened is Gilbert basically was saying some stuff to Peter that, oh, the Columbia chapter is going chaotic and everything else in between, and they're not listening to us, and all these Spanish chapters are going insane, and we need to regulate. And so what had happened is the Columbia chapters were just doing, like, they were active. Matter of fact, I would say I would hop into the TeamSpeak every once in a while, and the most active people were the Spanish people, and in the Spanish chapter, like Venezuela was like a big one in there, and
that's so ironic, but go ahead.
Oh yeah. I know. What ended up happening as I read this right here to kind of give me a refresher? Peter Joseph, I'm reading this TZM Columbia chapter problems, which led to eventual closure of the chapter due to intimidation, which is not a big surprise. So they had disowned the Columbia chapter, and the Columbia chapter even had a vote, and they voted against what Peter Joseph wanted. So this is like the democracy inside this group. And Peter's like, no, we're not, screw this democracy. I want my things done this way. And if you don't like it, then pretty much you can screw off pretty much. That's pretty much what happened. And the problems were numerous. It was so, like, there were so many problems. And another one was a guy was trying to, like, he lived in a country, and they were trying to contact Gilbert or someone called Alan or something, and they weren't able to get a hold of this person, and they're like up the pecking order of the Zeitgeist movement, and the guy, like Gilbert, he is like the laziest guy ever. Like, he's not gonna like what I'm about to say, but it's the truth. He's lazy, and he's not active, and the only reason he wants that, he's what I call like a part of the good old boys of the Zeitgeist movement. I kind of, it's more of like a Midwest term, but it's where you're one of the originals. You were one of the first people that joined, and then you stick around for years. And the only thing that you like about the position is the position of power. And if you didn't have the position of power, you wouldn't be interested in that place. And Gilbert is one of those guys. So Gilbert, he's just lazy. He doesn't do anything. He just, like, if he sees that something is working, then he's going to involve himself in it. He's going to try to meld it into what he likes. And if it isn't something that he likes, then he will forcefully tell the group, you're going to do it this way, or you're out, basically, or you can screw off. And with the Columbia chapter and some other Spanish chapters, I can't remember them offhand. I'd have to look at the letters, but that's basically what happened. And then with the Australian chapter, they started cracking down hard, because what had happened is there were two people in the Australian chapter that were higher up in the Zeitgeist movement. They were one was called David Zawalski and another person is called Carrie, and they were trying to be mediators for the Columbia chapter. They just offered their services, and they were trying hard, and they actually agreed that the Columbia chapter was like a legitimate like thing, that their grievances were real and there were real problems happening, and Peter Joseph wasn't addressing these issues. And ironically, though, like, why should Peter Joseph, this is the editor note, which is my note, why should Peter Joseph have anything to do with this chapter if it's a leaderless movement, right? Right, Jim? Yeah. So, but obviously, Peter Joseph is the leader of the Zeitgeist movement by this, and but with the Australian chapter, they wanted to de-amend David and Carrie basically, and they forcefully did it. They forcefully kicked them out. They said, we don't want you to be leaders. We don't like what you're doing. And these people were like, David and Carrie were actively involved in the Zeitgeist movement. They were meeting up. They were doing things. Keep in mind that Dark Dancer, Gilbert Ismail, he is a guy that does like Spanish dancing and everything else. Like, he's not a project coordinator. He doesn't have any of those qualifications. And obviously it shows, because the Zeitgeist movement could have went somewhere, but this guy, I think, single-handedly probably destroyed the Zeitgeist movement.
Maybe a pest by asking that, and possibly I'll be perceived as that, but I wanted, and I cannot stop myself from asking, but I wanted to know what's the role of Gilbert in the GCA, if I may politely ask.
Well, right now, to be honest, I've considered it pretty much inactive. A few days ago, I had a chat with him on Skype. We kind of discussed some possible things we could do. He mainly wants to be organizing meetings and promoting communication between chapters, which is something we need, because we've been a bit weak at it lately. But yeah, right now, nothing.
Microphone muted. Can I ask, Lee, I was just about to type this in the text chat. What was this? Facilitating communication between chapters. That sounds lovely, but it's a little bit vague. What does that mean?
Yeah, the initial thing was to set up consistent meetings with that have more content to it, like more lively discussions, and hopefully talk about more issues than we usually do. Because we tend to find that lots of issues like the Colombia one, or Hungary, Romania, yeah, to some extent, yeah, they should all mostly be dealt with in private because they're complex and huge, but there should be at least an update to every single international chapter on it. But yeah, more things I talked about with Gilbert was helping out with chapter email, because that takes quite a bit of time for me.
Sure, yeah. I don't know if now may be an appropriate time to say, but I do get the feeling that a lot of these chapter meetings are rather admin heavy in their focus, and that can be rather off-putting, because I really think that most people don't come to the Zeitgeist movement to do administration. They come to the Zeitgeist movement to do projects, to really get active, to get busy. So my guess, what I would like to see from those international meetings more is a much stronger focus on collaboration and sharing ideas and support for projects, ideas for how really to get the message of the movement out there a bit more. So yeah, anyway, maybe better I say that to Gilbert directly. You said you're meeting him tomorrow, so perhaps I will try and find the opportunity to attend that as well. Because I would like to see us move away from internal admin to focusing really on extending the movement and our reach.
I agree. We've been quite weak at it. We've been too focused internally, and yeah, I guess as we grow, we'll be able to focus more on that.
Gilbert was the same way. But before the Zeitgeist movement, Gilbert Ismail, if you've ever heard of that game, the Puzzle Pirates, he was a master in the Puzzle Pirate video game, pretty much. So but before he came across the Zeitgeist movement, and the only other thing he did was he did salsa dancing. So that makes him able to run the Zeitgeist movement. So like I said, they got like the wrong people in the position of power, and it happens.